as parents, it's our job to be proud of them and to show them how we love them, but not based on their grades or their activities, and actually parents, maybe, what behaviors are you showing that your kids can be proud of you? And that's really how we should be looking at it, because our kids don't belong to us. It's our job to enable them to be fully fledged adults, to live independently.
My name is Annette, and I'm the creator of Effortless Parenting. And I do this work because I believe that everyone deserves a calmer home. And I'm here with my first guest on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to introduce her in just a moment. And just how I found and clicked with Helen Dillon, that's her name, is that my daughter, my firstborn, is turning 13 just in May. And I'm embarking now on this journey of teenage parenting. I've already had a few examples of it. And I just was really inspired when I saw Helen and what she does for teenagers. And I'm coming here as a learner parent today. And I have a few questions that I'm going to ask Helen, and I want to thank her so much for signing up as my first guest to do this. I'm going to switch to gallery view, and I would love if you maybe started, Helen, by introducing how you find your calling for what you do right now.
So thank you, Annette, for having me. It's a real honor to be your first guest, and I'm delighted that you found me and we resonate together. So my passion for what I am doing now, I'm a careers coach for teenagers, is when I was a teenager, I chose the wrong thing for me. I chose engineering because I thought many years ago engineering was cool, particularly for a woman to be an engineer. But I didn't really understand me very well. I was probably very immature at the time, and I went into engineering, but I had to work really, really hard to be all right at it, to be okay. And that roll on a few years, then I had small children and I could no longer work really, really hard, and I struggled. It was a big, big struggle for me. So I dipped out of the workforce with 3 small children, but my confidence in absolute tatters. I was just, and I felt like a shell of a person. Well, how could anybody like me or love me or anything? So I embarked then, as I was at home with my children, on rebuilding myself. And, I read many, many self-help books. I didn't know what to do with my life because I was qualified as an engineer, but it was kind of difficult to have a job to easily transition into another really professional role. So I took a job as a sales administrator for a construction company, which was fine. It was local, it paid the bills, and I was close to my children if they were sick from school and all of that. But it didn't fulfill me personally. But I stayed there because, my confidence was still low. And then I always knew I was better, but I didn't know where or how. So roll on a few years, I was made redundant from that job. I took another job managing in a GP practice. Thought that was going to be me because I'm a people person. I finally understood that. But no, it wasn't for me. It was a very different type of environment to what I imagined it would be. So after that, I had an opportunity to leave the country. I went to Germany and started studying. I did business studies. I could do it part-time in Ireland, which suited me perfectly. And then halfway through that, I was kind of, okay, now I'm really, at this stage, my children were adults and I went, what am I going to do now?
Mm.
And so I went to a life coach. And halfway through the first session, the life coach said, well, would you not consider doing this? And I went, what do you mean this? She said, life coach. And I went, oh. I thought, well, do you know what? I would always love to work with teenagers to get them on the right path from the get-go, so that they didn't have to spend their life where I was, stuck in the wrong spot. So while I was studying for my degree, I was able also to do my diploma in life coaching. And it was from there in 2020, really, that I got going as a life coach, helping teenagers work out who they are, where they want to go in life, and then choose the right career. My name of my business is Your Path Coaching, and it's your path. It's not anybody else's. It's
Oh, I love that.
your path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I chose it, because I want teenagers and their parents to understand that the right choice is not necessarily a honours degree in university. It might be an apprenticeship. It might be a post-leaving cert course, or it might be work now for a few years and then go into education. There are so many options. Let's explore them all and work out what the right one is for them.
Mm. And, when you say there's so many options, what I was thinking about earlier is things are very different to when we did our Leaving Cert, and yet things are the same. And I thought one thing that is so different is that endless possibilities, and I thought that example came to me that when we bought tiles for this house, it was so overwhelming. And where I grew up, and I'm from the east of Germany, I think we had 1 or 2 tiles, and it wasn't a hard choice to make. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's very different. So it's good to explore that with them.
Yes.
So what is your experience? I know you work with teenagers and also you offer like a course to parents. What is your experience now in 2023? What are the challenges with teenagers finding their path?
I think for me, I think the biggest challenge for teenagers is facing into that overwhelm, the Leaving Cert, the pressure that teenagers are under is absolutely immense. We wouldn't put adults under that same kind of pressure. That sustained pressure. Adults might be used to running a project and there's, a real intense, maybe 3-month period. But this pressure particularly starts in September and goes right through to June. And the expectation from parents, schools, society in general is absolutely immense. And we seem to be just herding them all through this system that is one size fits all, so therefore doesn't fit many. And I think people are overwhelmed. Then they have to have a great Leaving Cert. They have to have gazillion points, and it's all the Leaving Cert ends up being the only thing in their life, and it's just really, really wrong. So I try to help those kids decompress. To say, look, you need, for what you want to do, you need 350 points, for argument's sake. You don't need 6 A's, so calm down. So it doesn't have to be this immense pressure, but they'll feel the pressure. Teachers will put them under pressure, schools, society. So I would really love everybody just to be able to stand back and calm down and say, okay, it's a part of life, but it's not everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the next question I have here, I asked a 17-year-old over the weekend that same question. And this is so amazing because her answer was almost what you just shared with us,
Yeah.
So this 17-year-old is in 5th year, and there's some viewers who are not based in Ireland. So 5th year means it's the year before you do the Leaving Cert.
Yeah.
And that's that there's no room, a current 17-year-old at the moment has so much work after school and at weekends that, like you said, the pressure they're under, they can't really decompress. And that they're meant to, decide what to do with their life. And the external voices,
Yeah.
so that's something she shared, that she will switch off the phone and reflect a little bit on that. So
Yeah. I really try to get teenagers to understand you will have all of this pressure out there, but you know what you have to do to get where you want to go. So, when you feel that pressure, you can either say in your own head or to the person, no, thank you, I'm good. I know what I have to do. I'm good. And that's and that, I think, kind of helps them just be able to put it into perspective. But it's not everything.
And you know what I also love about your name, Helen, that you call it Your Path Coaching, because that was the second part of the 17-year-old's answer. She shared, it isn't the decision for life, and we are now parents, coming out the other end, or starting the teenage journey. And there are so many kind of zigzag ways you can take. So that's what she also said, to remind teenagers, it's not a decision for life if you now go into engineering like you did, or like I went to France before I found my home here in Ireland, sometimes it takes detours. And so this is a kind of almost two-part question. Feel free to answer what comes first. So if you could give parents advice, which I think you also do through your business, what advice would you give to parents who are currently, maybe feeling a bit worried about either the choice that their teenager made, or maybe the choice that the teenager cannot make because of the overwhelm?
It doesn't matter. Actually, it might not always be good for my business, but it actually doesn't matter what your kid chooses, apart from the financial aspect. So leaving that aside, you're right. We can choose whatever. I did my Leaving Cert a long time ago, 30, nearly 40 years ago. It's a long time. And, my parents were of the mind that you get a job for life, you have this fabulous career, and it was linear. You started, as a graduate, and you worked your way up, and then you became the CEO. And that was the path, and you had to have a good pensionable job. That was what we were heard day in, day out, coming up to the Leaving Cert: a good pensionable job, a job for life. And that didn't happen for my generation, but we still have that hangover a little bit. Fundamentally, parents want what is best for their kids, and that's brilliant. But parents then, the next step, think they know what's best for their kids. And that's not necessarily the case. Yes, you know your kids very well, but you don't know what's inside their heart and their soul. And that's what I try to do, is I try to get those kids to go into their own hearts and souls and exclude those external voices and say, this is what I would love. And I'd say, tell me what mad notions you have. Those small little mad notions in the back of your head. Tell me what they are. And we'll see if we can build your career around those mad notions. And sometimes that works. And and sometimes it doesn't, you know, depending on the teenager that I work with. But at least I give them that chance to get it out. You
Mhm.
know, one guy did tell me his mad notions, and yeah, they were a bit crazy. And I kind of went, don't think you can build a career. That sounds like a hobby.
Mhm.
And yeah, and he eventually he could see that, whereas
Mhm.
with his own parents he couldn't.
Yeah.
So come back to your question
Uh-huh.
is parents, especially for the younger teenagers, don't worry about their success,
Mm.
their academic success just yet. Keep telling them what they're really good at. Please notice what they're good at. This is what a friend of mine, Jean, keeps. She's a former retired teacher. Notice when they're good.
Mhm.
Notice what they're good at, and tell them what they're good at.
Yeah.
Don't always notice when they're not good, which we
Aw.
tend to do with teenagers in particular.
Mhm.
Notice what they're good at. Tell them
Mm.
they're good. Encourage them,
Mm.
in their hobbies and their extracurricular activities.
Mm.
And start thinking of them as, if they were your colleague, what would you be praising them?
Mm.
How can you figure out what they would be good at in a work environment,
Mhm.
and what they would actually bring to the table in
Mm.
a work environment?
Mhm.
And it's always what you're good at, what you enjoy
Mhm.
are both more normally the same. And then let's base their career on their positivity.
Mm.
Don't worry about, oh, well, there's no jobs in that. We go through, financial crashes, and we'll go
Mhm.
through all sorts of things. Forget about that and just figure out what they are good at and how do they learn and what is the right path for them to get where they want to go to. It
Mm.
doesn't have to be a degree, maybe an apprenticeship, although you can get degrees through apprenticeships as well.
Okay.
So that's really my message to parents. Sorry
Well,
if I'm going too much.
oh, I absolutely love that. And do you know what also that teenager shared, which I think is good for parents to hear, because you said that as well, parents, we just want the best for our children, and sometimes it's a little bit what's the word? Like not as objective, the opposite. I'm stuck with the
Subjective.
subjective,
Subjective.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're a bit subjective and what they have wanted, and maybe where they, wished something different would have happened. And then I love that answer, and I think you probably hear that as well from teenagers. She had said that those teenagers who ask their parents, "What's your advice?" or maybe who are given advice by their parents, that those teenagers, they even though they may not show it, but they love their parents so much, they don't want the parents to be hurt or upset, and then sometimes it can come a little bit from pleasing the
Yeah.
parent. Would you find that too?
Yeah. Teenage children are programmed to look up to their parents
Mhm.
and to want to make their parents proud. And I think as parents, it's our job to be proud of them and to show them
Mm.
how we love them, but not based on their grades or their activities,
Mhm.
and actually parents, maybe, what behaviors are you showing that your kids can be proud of you? And that's really
Oh,
how
love.
we should be looking at it,
Mm.
because our kids don't belong to us. It's our job to enable them to be fully fledged adults, to live independently
Mhm.
and to make their own choices.
Yeah.
So, parents, don't focus on the career path for your
Mhm.
kids. Focus on what your kids are good at. What do they display that they're good at, their natural abilities. And then, yes, certainly help your kids talk through their career choices, and but don't dictate what it should be.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. that
Yeah.
really comes from a place of love and is so aligned with my way of helping parents as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I loved what you said on your website, and we're going to share this in the end. That I'm going to quote what you said. You say, teenagers find their self-confidence and parents relief from the stress of teens' career uncertainty. And that
Yeah.
just, I think, relaxes me as a parent, you know, to outsource that a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. It, yes, because teenagers, while they love their parents, you know, but they're also going through that natural phase of, oh God, my parents know nothing, they're stupid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They go through that process of absolutely adoring their parents and thinking they're the center of the universe, to
Mm-hmm.
actually then thinking, oh my God, they're so stupid, they know nothing.
Yeah.
And then won't always listen, even if the parental advice is good.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to take it because I'm going to do my own thing, and that's
Yeah.
that's the
Hard for parents.
choice. And um, so sometimes outsourcing it can be a very good move, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm independent and I say to the kids,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care what
Mm-hmm.
career you choose. I
Mm-hmm.
do care that you're choosing the right one for you,
Yeah.
and that's the difference. So I can be very objective, and my job is to ensure that the career they're choosing
Mm-hmm.
matches what they're telling me about themselves and their
Mm-hmm.
skills, their their passions and ambitions and things like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is just, I wish everybody could sign up to your services.
Yeah, so do I.
And I know that, and staying with this topic of parents and wanting what's best for our children, you know, and I'm really asking this question as a learner parent because you're out the other side. So you've got all boys, you've three of them.
3 boys. Yeah.
What age are they? Ages are they?
Oh, my eldest one will be 30, and then I've got 26-year-old twins as well. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
well,
so it was a crazy household growing up. It was a bit mental.
yeah.
And I learned an awful lot from them, because I was that parent, you have to go to college.
Mhm,
And it's not that it didn't bother me what they did, but I went to college. I loved it, even though I chose the wrong course. But I loved that independent
mhm,
experience of going to college and, moving away from home and being my own person. I loved it. And I wanted that for my boys.
mhm.
And the first one, he was extremely independent. And yep, he was out the gate at 18 and never looked back. He
Yeah.
never fully lived at home again. And he went to college. That was fine. And then, but my other 2 boys didn't go to college. They did. They went to college, but they left after a year because it wasn't for them.
Mhm.
And one of them now has found a career in the wine industry,
Oh.
and so he is forging ahead with that, without a qualification. Well, he has his wine tasting
Mhm,
qualifications now. So, um, so yeah, that's been a big learning for me. It doesn't have to be an academic career. It can be. I am still a believer in qualifications. I do believe it puts a marker in the sand for you, as an individual. I have a qualification,
mhm,
and I am a big believer. But how you get those qualifications is a matter of choice. What's
mhm,
good for you? Uh, that particular son, he actually struggles with learning, and
mhm,
he probably has a bit of ADHD, although
mhm.
we never realized it. But
Yeah.
so yeah, he's found something he's passionate about, and he loves it, and he's full steam ahead. Yeah, so I'm delighted for him that he's found something that he really enjoys.
And so that it half answers it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You know, you said you wanted them to be independent, so you had suggested to go to college because that is great. We all want them to be independent. And so
Mhm.
knowing what you know now, you know, and it's not to blame or anything ever, How would you do that differently now, in hindsight, with
In
those people who
hindsight,
didn't want to go?
I would try to understand them a lot better than I did. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they're learning. I don't call them difficulties anymore. They're
Mm-hmm.
differences. They're
Mm-hmm.
learning differences.
Yeah.
Uh, what are they struggling with? Um, tell me more. I never really stopped to ask them
Mm-hmm.
what they struggled with. Why are they feeling, this isn't for them? I just thought, oh yeah, they're really a bit lazy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I would definitely do differently. I would take stock of the difficulty. I'd see, oh, you probably know this as well, behaviors are a message.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Particularly poor behavior is a message to the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're programmed just to see it as bad behavior, and I definitely came from that background of, you should be nice, you should be a good little girl, and you don't cause trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when your kids are causing trouble, it's a signal to
Yeah.
say something's not right in my little world, please help.
Yeah.
And it's taking that time to sit back, and this is what I would do different as a
Mm-hmm.
parent myself.
Okay.
Um what are those difficulties that you're
Mm.
experiencing, and how can I help rather than how can I chastise or
Yeah.
correct you? Yeah, yeah,
Wow. That is exactly what my parenting is all about. It's like you said, underneath the behavior, there's always a belief that the child has.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
cannot change or redirect or support the behavior unless we get to the belief. And that's how
yeah,
I help parents as well, because
yeah,
they always leave feeling so much more love and empathy for their child when they
yeah,
see that as
yeah.
a
And
co.
also that feeds into then the confidence of the children and them knowing themselves and knowing who they are and what they're about, and
Mm-hmm.
telling your children, you're really good at whatever, and you know they'll know if they're good at singing or if they're not good at singing.
Yeah.
But and that should be praised. And if they're not good at singing, that's fine. I mean, we're not good at singing in our house, and it's the joke.
Mm-hmm.
In our house, we don't sing. We sing.
Yeah.
We do sing, but not in public. So
Mm.
and kids understand that. But they don't always understand the things that they're good at that are not um so outstanding. Like if somebody's a good singer, people know they're a good singer. But
Mm-hmm.
if they're really kind people and caring people and would um, forge great careers in the caring industry,
Mm-hmm.
not always easy to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what, just to bring this to a close, where can people, parents and teenagers, where can they find you?
So I have my website, and it's called yourpathcoaching.ie.
Mm-hmm. I'm just
And
bringing this
I'm
up.
also on LinkedIn, Helen Dillon, Your Path Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Just showing your website, and I just said it looks so beautiful, so simple. And do you
Yeah.
want to share something about this download study skills document?
Yes, I have a study. You can download it's about a 6-page PDF, and it runs through how you can support your teenager to be effective studying. Not only do I do study tips, an actual study, but other things that will support your kids to study, like good eating, good sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
good down time
Oh,
habits,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that is a so you need to understand those support things. If your teenager is going through the leaving cert, this year, they're really now getting into the real intense study period. So you want to support them with good eating habits, and ensuring they're getting good sleep, but they're also getting good downtime. They're also relaxing. They're also getting out into the fresh air and with their friends. So maybe they can do a few of those together, like having pizza night with their friends, and or going out for a walk with the dog, and maybe meeting their friends for a walk out into fresh air. So all of those are as important as the actual study as well.
And they can be, we know this, it can be so easily forgotten. You mentioned if some adults are in a 3-week project, we easily, just get takeaway food and forget the stuff our body needs.
The only thing I'll say about, particularly with the good eating, certainly have, really good nutritious, because you actually are burning calories by studying, because your brain is forming all of these neural pathways to learn. You need to eat well to sustain that activity, even though you're sitting still.
Yeah.
However, I will say, if your teenager is coming to a point where they are, getting really overwhelmed and are struggling, give them their favorite food. We all love a little bit of comfort eating, and now is a really good time to, to whip up that favorite dish that your teenager loves, just to help them just decompress a little bit, and kind of go, oh yeah, I love this, or a bowl of ice cream, or whatever it is, but in general, try and have those good nutritious foods to sustain that learning activity.
And put all your love in as a parent when you cook it, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Transfer the love through your cooking. Yeah.
So as a final, I leave you the last word, as a final a recommendation, or your last words. Why would a teenager deserve your services, to work with you for that year? It's kind of a year you work with them, is that right?
Not the teenager. The teenager, I do it's just a 4-week program, 1 hour per week, for the teenagers, and I run through a program of, the first session would be all about them, who they are, what they love to do, what their hobbies are, their skills are. The second is, tell me what you want to get out of life, because their career is there to support their life, not the other way around. So some people want to go, I want to make loads of money, or some people go, I really want to travel, or other people want to go. So I help them to build their ambitions into their career. And then the last 2 sessions are very focused on, okay, now we know who you are, where you want to go, what's the right path. So we do a lot of research around courses, be it in universities or colleges of further education, apprenticeships, and so on. And my 1-year program is actually for the parents doing the Leaving Cert. So there is a lot that parents need to know, between financial grants. If your teenager has a disability, or they're coming from a disadvantaged area, there's different programs that they can apply to university through the DARE scheme or the HERE scheme for higher education access. And then also helping, understanding the CAO and how that works. And that's important, because people think it's one thing and it's not. And I also then, it's not only about the course, it's also about the college. Will the college support your teenager in the way they need support? Like you mentioned earlier, that you like the smaller environment. A large city might overwhelm, so a large university might overwhelm a teenager, maybe a smaller university or a smaller college, so that's why
the details about what they need.
Yeah, really. A lot of detail, but things parents need to know. So we start in September and we run right through until the August, when the teenagers get the results, and then it's kind of go, oh my God, they don't want the course they chose. What do I do next? So I can support them through that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Helen. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to put your details below, and I found you on LinkedIn, so I'm going to add that link as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Great. And you offer a free call as well, don't you? I saw that.
Yep,
if somebody wants to just know.
Yeah, if they want to give me a call, I have on my website, there's a booking, a scheduling service that you can book a 30-minute call, and we can go through how I can support the parent or the teenager or both. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.